Hey everyone, welcome to Let's Write Books. I'm Micah Craddy, the head of writing at Butterdocs, which is the best app to use to write your novel. It's what I'm using to write mine. And if you want to check it out, there is a link in the description below. This is Let's Write Books. What is this? It is a weekly live stream show where writers can come together for community advice and, most importantly, a dedicated time to work on your novel or your memoir or whatever other book or creative project you're writing. But like mostly we focus on novels. It's a busy world out there, so it can be hard to find time to just like put aside and work on your novel, and that's what we're doing here today. Some weeks we have a focus, and today we're going to be talking about stakes. So we're going to get into that in a little bit. But to get started, I want to know where are you? What kind of book are you writing? And then our kind of writer question to get the juices flowing a little bit as we wake up maybe on this Monday morning, or maybe it's Monday afternoon or Monday evening, depending on where you are in the world. But whatever it is, it's probably still a Monday. It's going to be a little hard. So to get us warmed up, the question is, why are stakes important? So I want to know where you are, what kind of book you're writing, and then our writer question to get us going, to sort of like knock some of the rust off the wheels in our brains, is why are stakes important. So awesome. I think we're gonna have a lot of fun today. I can't wait to get into it. To answer these questions myself, oh, by the way, please like, subscribe, turn notifications on. All that stuff is really helpful. I really appreciate it. So to answer these questions myself, I'm in Los Angeles. I'm writing a novel about three estranged high school best friends who return to their small town for their 20th high school reunion, not because they're happy to see each other or want to be there, but because there is a secret from their past that they have to deal with before it blows up their lives. And if you're wondering, like, what is this thing? What is Let's Write Books? We're going to do timed writing sprints today. So we're going to do 3 timed writing sprints, 25-minute writing sprints. And then in the breaks in between, we'll come back together. We'll chat, maybe answer some questions, see how we're doing today. And there will be kind of prompts for the writing sprints that you are welcome to follow or not. They're optional. Sometimes you just want to just put your head down and just try to write some words, and that's great. You don't have to do the prompts if you don't want to. But they're there for you in case you're like, I need something to work on today. So that's what we're going to do. And then during the second break, I'm going to show you sort of the, we've been doing the flower of the week sort of a photo, but this is more of a different thing. It's like sort of like the slice of nature, a little bit of nature that I'm going to share with you from my backyard that has been pretty cool. Something that I've been enjoying seeing in my backyard. Because I live in a city, but nature is still all around us, and it's like nice to find beauty and inspiration everywhere. Checking in with the chat. Ilya missed us last week. Glad you're back. Juno, happy Monday. Let's get these words. Awesome. Neffy from Seaside, glad you're back. Minaru, glad you're back. Happy to see everyone here. I want to know, get in the chat. Let me know about stakes. Why are stakes important? What do you think about that? I want to get your opinions before I chat about them a little bit here. Ilya, writing from Italy. Want to finish a short story. Almost there. Stakes are great to get the reader interested and care about the characters. Awesome. Yes, stakes are so important for answering the sort of like, why do I care question. I love that. Barbara in LA, working on your first novel, Magical Realism. For me, stakes equal engagement and turning pages. Yes, definitely. Similar to what Ilya is saying there. Teji in San Jose, I believe. YA fantasy. Stakes are important because they create tension. If there's no tension, why should the reader keep reading? Awesome. I love this. So I was thinking a little bit about stakes, and these are kind of some thoughts that I came up with. So first off, let's just kind of start with some characteristics, like what are stakes? And I think the easiest way to think about stakes is what your character has to win or lose if they accomplish their goal or fail to accomplish their goal. So your character, your protagonist has a goal, your protagonist, there's something they want. And if they achieve that goal, they get something, right? There's a benefit to them. But equally important is the fact of what happens if they fail, if they don't get it. There has to be negative consequences. So it's what they can gain if they succeed in accomplishing their goal, and it's what they can lose if they fail to accomplish their goal. It's easier to think. I like just think of it in terms of like stakes as in like high stakes poker, because really it's what your character is putting on the line. You can think of your character sitting at the poker table. They have put a bet in, they put all their chips in. And if they win that hand, they get a lot more, right? They win something, they get money. But if they lose, they lost all their money. So I think that metaphor is helpful because it's one of those things where the more is at risk, the more engaging it is, right? If your character has a big old stack of chips and they've only bet a little bit, whether they win or lose is not really going to be that exciting, not going to be that engaging. But if they're all in, if they have pushed all of their chips onto the table, then now it's nail biting. Now you're engaged. So one of the consequences or takeaways of that is that the more that they have to win or lose, the more exciting it can be. But another characteristic is that doesn't necessarily mean it's life and death, because you might think, okay, well, what's the biggest thing they can risk? It's their life. It's their family's lives. Like, it's about life and death. But, not all books are about that. So it could be like it's the end of the world if you're writing like a fantasy novel, and if they, Lord of the Rings, they have to destroy the ring or else the Dark Lord takes over. Sauron rules everything and everything's bad forever. You can have those kind of stakes. But what's really important is just that it's important to the character. Like, it feels like life or death to them. It's the end of their world. So there can be stories that have sort of like less lofty stakes, but it still feels very important to the character. And as we kind of mentioned earlier, this helps with the so what question, right? The outcome matters. And if it matters to the character, it's going to matter to the audience. I think that's one of the keys of writing, is that if your characters really care, if it's important to them, then that's how the audience is going to care. Another thing that's really important about stakes is there's no going back. So if we go back to our poker analogy, right? If you're playing poker and you've made a bet and you put your chips in, you can't just be like, sorry, dealer, I changed my mind. I'd like to just take my chips back and walk away. You can't do it. So with stakes, it means that you have to move forward. Again, for the poker analogy, then you have to keep playing the hand. You can't just walk away, because if you walk away, that's folding, that's losing. You've lost everything that's at risk. So it forces your characters to keep moving. It forces your story to have momentum. Like, the only way out is to go through it. Walking away means losing something really big. A couple other things just to mention. You can add a ticking clock, right? So it's not only that they have to succeed in this time frame, in the next 24 hours, in the next day, and then whatever it is. And the nice thing about the ticking clock is there's a pressure then. It's like, oh my gosh, again, it forces them to be active. They can't just wait around and be like, it'll probably be fine. It's like they have to be active. They have to be going out into the world and dealing with this in some way. And the cool thing about the ticking clock is that you can also change it, right? You can make it so, like, at the beginning of the story, it's like, oh my gosh, I have to do this in the next month or so, or else, everything's lost. But then halfway through the story, you'll be like, actually, no, it's a day that you have to get it done in. You can always speed up the ticking clock. You don't want to add more time to the clock, really, I don't think. I mean, I'm sure there's probably exceptions. This was exceptions to everything. But you can speed that up. And just like you can speed up the clock, you can also escalate the stakes with greater consequences as the story progresses. So as you start with something at risk, but then as the story goes, you can actually put more at risk. It doesn't have to be the same thing that you started with. You're betting more. You're putting more on the table. Yeah. So I also just want to mention the positive and negative. Just hit that again one more time, that it's gaining and losing, right? And I was actually talking with my wife yesterday, who's a writer, and it's kind of funny because stakes can actually be a little more complicated, because we were talking about some messy novels that she's in. She's into these books lately that have had female protagonists just kind of doing wild stuff and taking risks. And they're doing things where it's sometimes stakes get complicated, where even if they succeed in the thing they want, there's a risk of things going poorly, which is really fun, that you don't have to always have it as a clear thing, right? Because maybe your character's goal is something bad. They're doing something kind of crazy, something out of the ordinary that could blow their life up. So just you can be a little messy with it, which can be fun. Nephew saying, yeah, stakes makes us want to keep going. Juno, agree with all this about stakes. I think the best stories involve meaningful change, and in order to change, you have to be willing to give something up to gain something. It has to matter. I love that. Yes. If it's easy, then it's not really that interesting. Then there's not really a story in it. It's just sort of a sequence of events. It's sort of that process of the change, of sacrifice, of going through something. That's the story. And as Neffy said, stakes go well with potatoes. Bum. Way to go, Neffy. Love that. James, welcome in, working on a horror script. Stakes tie the stories together. I love that. That's a good point. All right. So I think this is a good start. So as I said, we are going to do writing sprints about stakes today. Again, they are optional. You can just be like working on your own thing. I'm going to play put the timer up and play the music. But I'll just kind of walk through what we're going to be doing here. So sprint 1 is going to be try to encapsulate the stakes in your novel as an if-then statement. So if A, then B. So basically, if A happens, like the goal, then there's this consequence. So if the character does A, then B is going to happen, right? B is the consequence. So you can kind of try to encapsulate your stakes like that. But then you can layer on top of that, where if A happens, then this consequence B happens. But if B happens, then this other thing C happens. And if C happens, then D happens. And so you can kind of use this as a strategy to increase the stakes, like push yourself a little further. And again, this can be both for negative and positive consequences. So if A happens, then this B thing happens. And that can be a positive or a negative thing. So that's what sprint 1 is going to be. So it's kind of a global approach to your book, sort of the stakes in general. And then in sprint 2, think of a scene or sequence in your novel, maybe the one you're currently working on. How does the outcome of that scene play into your stakes above? So for instance, in sprint 1, we're talking about the global stakes of your novel, but there are things along the way. There's this chain of events. So you want your, each sequence of your book to play into those stakes. So in sprint 1, we're going to be thinking a little globally, and in sprint 2, about a specific part of your book. And how does that kind of play into the sequence of stakes in your big story? And how can you make it more consequential? How can you make this smaller section of your book tie more into that? Put something at stake there, something smaller at stake, that builds into the big one. So that's sprint 2. And then sprint 3 is our usual kind of optional sprint. You can either kind of take what you learned in sprint 2 here and then actually implement that in your story, actually like go into your text and use some of what you've thought of in sprint 2 or in sprint 1. Or in sprint 3, you can have an optional thing about escalating it. How can you escalate the stakes as your story goes forward? Can you add a ticking clock? So that's what we're going to be running through today. And if you want to add this little template here to your ButterDocs account, there is a link in the description below. You can click on the link and that'll pop up in a window in your browser, and you can save this template to your ButterDocs account. And then in ButterDocs, you just go to your notes here and you click this little arrow, new notes from template, and you can do stakes free writing. So you can add this template to your account. If you don't want to do that, also the templates are copied and pasted in the description of the YouTube video. So you can look at it there as well. So you can use the template. The nice thing about adding this template, though, is that once it's in your ButterDocs account, it's there and you can use it like on your different projects. So all of these templates that we've been using, you can use them in your next novel. It's there for you to use over and over again. All right. So Barbara's appreciating the templates. Thank you. I'm glad you appreciate the templates. All right, guys. I think we should do some writing. I'm excited to be here with y'all. I'm a little tired. I went to a bachelor party this weekend. So recovered on Sunday. And I don't usually party. So it was sort of one of those times where occasionally it can be fun to let your hair down a little bit. But my brain has little cobwebs in it, and I'm excited for y'all, your energy to help me get some writing done today and kick this week off into to the right gear. So we are going to do the first writing sprint. It's going to be a 25 I love that. I can use this as material. Throw the bachelor party into my novel. Maybe I'll make one of them about to get married. I love that, Neffy. We're always trying to take whatever we have in our lives and like mine it and find the nuggets of gold that we can use in our writing. All right, so yeah, 25 minutes on the clock. So if you're new, it's your first time, what's going to happen is I'm going to put a little timer up on screen. I'm going to shrink and be muted off to the side and I'll play some music, and we're just going to do some writing. Again, you can do the sprints as that we walked through, or you can just kind of do your own writing. Just use the 25 minutes to just kind of get in a creative zone, whatever you want to do. We're easy here. There's no pressure. So I'm going to play this music. I am going to put the timer up, and then we're going to check back in after 25 minutes. So let's do it. Let's get into some writing, everybody. right, this is the end of the first writing sprint as I softly and pleasantly transition us out of it. Don't want to jar y'all too much by the sound of my voice if you were in the creative flow. And if you're like deep in the creative flow, then just keep writing. Ignore me. You never have to listen to me talk. I hope you all have that in your minds, that I'm optional when it comes to your writing. You can just write. I'm not needed. Yeah. Anyways, but that is the first writing sprint. Welcome to everyone who joined us during that writing sprint. This is Let's Write Books. We are doing 3 writing sprints today. The theme of today's episode is about stakes. So the sprints that I'm kind of talking about and leading are about stakes and developing the stakes in your novel. But they are optional. You can just be doing your own things. This is brought to you by Butterdocs, the writing software, which is what I'm using to write my novel. It's fantastic. You can kind of think of it as like Google Docs meets Scrivener. And you can find out more in the link below. But everyone else, I want to know, how did that sprint go for you? Are the muses with us today? Were you struggling? Were the words flowing? What would you learn in your writing? If you were doing this, the sprint about stakes, the sort of theme sprint, I want to know, did you learn anything about the stakes in your novel or about increasing them? Was there anything surprising you found in there? I actually it was like a pure free write in one of those things where I was kind of jumping from, like, I started doing sprint 1 and then I sort of went down to 3B because I had an idea for something that fit there. And then I went back to sprint 1. And then that made me think about the POV of my characters. And I was thinking of like another POV way for the story. And it was great. And so I just feel like, I don't know, it was one of those true free writes where like your brain isn't exactly following the instructions you've given it. But that's where sometimes the best ideas come from, when you're just sort of starting associating and putting the links together. But in terms of the stakes itself, I actually kind of had some interesting revelations about my story. Because my novel is about these guys who are trying to cover up a secret from their past. So in a sense, they're trying to maintain the status quo, right? Covering up the sequence means that their current lives remain the same. They're not disrupted. So what I was kind of thinking about is like, oh, so if they succeed in their goal, they're not gaining anything. They're just maintaining the status quo. And if stakes are what your character has to lose or gain, I'm missing a layer because they're not actually gaining anything by achieving their goal. There has to be something else on top of it. So that was kind of forcing me to dive deeper a little bit. And I think I'm actually just going to continue this in the next sprint into thinking about like what's better for them than their status quo. What's wrong with their lives? What do they actually have to gain? And it kind of gets into the questions of like what they want versus what they need, which is always good in a character. Your character wants this thing, but it's usually the surface level thing. They don't want to deal with the hard stuff. So how can I kind of force them to deal with the hard stuff? So it was an interesting sprint for me. Elia had a good sprint, cleared my mind on a problem in the story. Awesome. Love that. Minaro had a good sprint. Juno had an okay sprint. I need my inner critic to go distract itself, take a hike. Just let me get the sentences out. Man, that's hard. Yeah. I mean, sometimes your inner critic, maybe you can just like an unruly child, hand them an iPad that has like Bluey on it or something. I don't actually have kids yet, but I've heard that's something you can do. I hope. Yeah, I mean, that's always going to be a challenge. I think you can just, I always talk about the idea of accepting that it will be bad, but I do feel like a little dishonest sometimes when I say that, because it's still really hard. Like when it's really hard to turn off that inner critic. And I feel like sometimes I can be a little too glib about vomit draft. Just do it and don't worry about it being bad. And it's kind of like it's super easy to do that, but it's not, Juno. I'll admit it's really not easy to do that. So I totally understand, what you're going through. I think it's just like, you just kind of have to keep moving forward through it and find that creative flow and give yourself the opportunity to find success in it. We've talked about strategies for that sometimes, where you need to like check to kind of take a step back But sometimes you just kind of have to like, yeah, get down into the pages and just kind of like grin and bear it a little bit and, you know, work through it a little bit. It's sometimes there isn't an easy answer. It's just, you have to work, you know, so good luck, man. Ilya saying, yeah, the inner critic is such a distractor before finishing the track. Yeah, totally. I know that. Neffy, reviewing the stakes, my story is validating. I do indeed have a ticking clock. Oh, awesome. Glad to hear that. Awesome. Barbara had a great sprint, realized how other characters should be part of the main character's stakes, increase and escalate. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why you have your supporting characters, right? Is that they complicate the journey of your protagonist. They can aid them or they can create problems for them. And you have your antagonist or antagonists, whoever the structure of story is, who are, you know, escalating the stakes and creating these problems using like the full kind of cast. And that's one of the things I was thinking about, is that I was kind of, Barbara, kind of similarly, I was thinking about some other characters in my story and like their kind of their POV of this situation, but also how they can be motivated to take action, and that how those actions will affect my characters and add stakes to it. So I think that's a great point, is how the rest of your characters can factor into this. Awesome. All right. So just a couple announcements. We are doing Let's Write Books next week again. And it's going to be like a pretty kind of like a freeform one next week. There isn't going to be a specific theme like stakes. It's just going to be like a power writing session. I guess you could think about that. Well, like we're just going to like sit down and write, you know, and do it. And I'm maybe going to do minimal talking next week. It'll just be more writing. So yeah, that will be on next Monday, and you can RSVP. There's a link below to RSVP for that. And then another announcement on we have a special guest for Let's Write Scripts, our other show, which a lot of you guys attend as well. But on Wednesday, we are going to have one of the writers of Shrek on Let's Write Scripts. Roger S.H. Schulman, he's going to be on. He's going to be doing writing sprints with us. He's going to be answering screenwriting questions. And he's a guy who knows his stuff. So that should be fun. You can also RSVP for that in the description below. There's a link for that. So don't miss that next week. There's one other thing. So I know sometimes you guys want to follow me on Instagram. I actually have 2 Instagram accounts. And the public one is this one, Write Micah Write. I'll admit I'm not super active on it, and I want to be more active about it. I also have another one you might find, and I apologize. That's my private one for like family. And so I sometimes people will add me for my other account, and I'll feel bad because I'm just kind of like, I leave them in limbo. And so I just want to say I'm not trying to ignore you or anything like that. That's just my private one. But this one at Write Micah Write is my public one. So you can follow that if you want to follow me on Instagram. And apologies if you have tried to friend me on my other account and I have not friended you back. It's not personal. It's just that's my kind of my private ones for like my family. Awesome. All right. So I'm liking the vibe today. I'm liking the writing. I think we're going to roll into the second writing sprint now. So again, the second sprint was think of a scene or sequence in your novel, maybe the one you're currently working on. How does the outcome of it play into your stakes? Can you make it more consequential? So how can you we kind of thought globally, maybe in the first sprint, how can you apply some of that from the first sprint into a specific section? How does maybe what you're writing right now or some consequential part of your story that you want to work on play into the larger stakes? So we're going to jump into that writing sprint now. I'm going to put 25 minutes back on the clock, play some more music, and we're just going to like feel those creative vibes and get into it. And then after that, I'm going to show it's actually kind of a bird of the week. Actually, I'll just tease that for the photo and a little video. There's a little dude, little woman. Maybe I'm not exactly sure. I think it's a female, a little creature. That's been in my backyard that it's been kind of bringing delight. So I'll share that with you guys after the writing sprint. So 25 minutes on the clock. Let's get back into it. And we're going to, we'll touch base again on the other side. Let's do it. Let's write. All right, everybody, that is bringing us to the end of the second writing sprint here on Let's Write Books. Sprint 2 was about a specific sequence of your book. So sprint 1, we were thinking about stakes a little more globally in your book. Sprint 2 was a little more focused on a specific section of your book. How can you elevate the stakes there? How can you link those to kind of the broader narrative of the stakes? I want to welcome everyone who joined us during that sprint. This is Let's Write Books, brought to you by ButterDocs. You can check out ButterDocs if you are looking for an app to write your novel in the description below. How did that second sprint go for us? Did the muses show up for some of you who are struggling? Did they abandon anyone who was doing well in the first sprint? Did you learn anything about the stakes in a specific part of your story? Get in the chat and let me know. I'm actually like having a great writing session today. Like, I'll admit, I've been sort of struggling with my book lately. Like, I just sort of, I don't know. I mean, we were talking a little bit sometimes about how the writing's hard, like Juno and I were talking about that, the inner critic. And honestly, with my novel, it's just kind of felt a little lifeless. It's like missing something. I haven't really liked what I've been writing in it. There's something in it. And today I've just sort of unlocked another piece that, like, you have that thing where you literally get tingles, like you have an idea or you're free writing and like you actually get like goosebumps. Like, I had that during that writing sprint where I was thinking about this character and this whole thing. And I like literally got like the right side of my face and like shoulder, like got like tingly and goosebumps. And I'm just like, yes. So I don't know. It's crazy how writing, like the roller coaster that you can go on as a writer when you are like, just, this is dumb. Why I should abandon this. What is this thing? And then suddenly you're just like, I see it now. And it's fantastic. Barbara's with me on that. Good Muse Day. Minaro there with you. Awesome. Barbara, slow start, but the muses are kicking in, far more creative than I expected. Fantastic. Juno had a question earlier. Anybody ever get stuck coming up with ideas for how to actually solve the character's big problem? Great at setting up conflicts, but not so great at resolving them in a satisfying way. Yeah, that's hard. Like, you open it, but then you got to close it back down. I was thinking about this a little bit when I saw your question. I'd love to get anyone else's thoughts on this if you have an answer for Juno for how you close problems. But I think my answer to this, or my advice, sorry, your questions, I need to like sit up so I'm not like hiding behind your question, is to look internal, right? So there is an external problem that's been created, and to solve it, your character has to deal with their internal problem, I think. Confront it, change, grow, but only by doing the hard thing can they actually solve the other thing. Or sometimes, like, they can't solve the big thing, but they can solve themselves a little bit, you know? And so really go back to your character a little bit and step back from the plot and think about why is your character dealing with this problem? What are they going through? What is their journey? What do they need to learn? What do they need to grow? And I think if you look at that level of it, you might unlock some things here. Sarah, lovely to be here today, working on a creative nonfiction piece. Yesterday, I got accepted to a flash fiction zine, and it was something I totally wrote off the cut. Congratulations, Sarah. That's fantastic. I love that. And I think for like flash fiction, like off the cuff is where it's at. You know, I published a short story that was almost flash. It was a while ago, but in a literary journal, I wrote a short story, and it was like, I don't think it was technically flash fiction, but it had that vibe. It was a pretty short piece. And it was like a stream of conscious kind of thing. And like, it was one of the quickest things I ever wrote, and it got published. And I think it's because it has that kind of energy. So with flash fiction, I think in particular, it just needs to encapsulate, like, there's like a feeling, there's an energy, there's a through line of the story. And it's like, the shorter it is, the less you can work on it. Like, the more you just start messing it up. Right? Because the next time you come back to it, you're in a different state. You're not that person anymore. You're not tapping into that. Like a bigger thing. Yes, there's like introspection, and you're thinking about it. And like months after you've started, suddenly you break open this new piece, and but like for flash fiction, I love that, just that energy there. And congrats on getting published. That's fantastic here. Great. The tickles while writing are some of the reasons I write it. Such a good feeling. I love that. Yeah, I also had another thing recently where I was like, I met a writer in a coffee shop, and we were just talking about his thing, and I started pitching, and I had some ideas for him, and I got the tingles, and it was just like that kind of a thing. Like it's funny because there's that phrase like, and people you hear this a lot. People say I hate writing, but I love having written. And I just disagree with that. I think that's kind of BS a little bit. I get what you're saying in that is that writing's hard and it's very difficult at times and you don't always enjoy it. And I get that. But I think if we are writing, we do it because we love it. Just people do plenty of things that are hard that they love. You don't see mountain climbers saying oh, I hate climbing mountains, but I love having climbed a mountain, right? We do this because we love it, even though it's hard. Yeah. So that feeling is great. Flash fiction is basically just very short fiction. I'm not sure what the exact technical definition of it is, but it's basically a really short story. According to my quick Google, it's under 1,500 words, and it's concise and intense. So it's just kind of a very it's like a flash. It's just boom. It's just there. It's pretty cool. Barbara, one of the biggest ahas for me has been free writing. Thank you. You're welcome. Gets me out of my head and into creative flow. I love it. I'm a big free writer. I think, though, you just kind of reminded me of something that I kind of wanted to mention about free writing. It's something I've been experiencing a little bit, is that free writing is wonderful because it does get you out of your head. It gets you into a creative flow. It unlocks things, but it can be a little seductive too sometimes because free writing is easier than writing the actual prose of your piece. And so sometimes I'll find myself just going back to the free writing a little bit because it's just I can unlock. But then when I actually write the thing, I'm like, oh, this is really hard. And I kind of run back to free writing a little bit. So free writing is fantastic, but we also have to remember to actually do the writing of the piece itself. But Barbara, I'm so glad that that's been helpful. All right. I want to do the little nature of the week thing here. So a little backstory on this real quick. My office here that I'm in right now is in a kind of semi-converted garage. The other half of the garage is behind me on that wall. But it's separate from the house. So I walk out to my backyard here. So as I walk outside and turn around a corner, there's this bush tree thing here. It's a Cape honeysuckle, technically, and it's overgrown and wild and sort of tree-like, and it swallowed some metal posts in it. It's a weird thing. I don't really like it. I've kind of wanted to get rid of it. But the branches of it kind of go right by the wall of my office, so I have to kind of duck under them to get through it. And for the last week or so, when I've ducked under it, a hummingbird has just zoomed away from my head multiple times a day. Just a little hummingbird has just zipped away. And I'm what is going on? Because I'm looking at this honeysuckle and I'm okay, it's been feeding here maybe, but there's no flowers on the honeysuckle yet. There's no flower. And so I'm just why are you, what are you doing? There's nothing here for you to eat. Why are you hanging out in this tree, hummingbird? And then I'm wait, are you did you build a nest? And so I was trying to find the nest, and here, let's just, there is that little hummingbird in a tiny little teacup of a nest. And just, it's so still, and it's crazy. I'm gonna play this video again because hummingbirds, they're always in motion. And I've just watched this thing and just for 10 minutes and it just doesn't move. And it's crazy to see a hummingbird like that. Here's a photo of it. Anyways, and so yeah, I just got this little hummingbird nest that is I'm checking on it to see how she's doing every day. And it's they use spider silk, I think, to create their little teacup nests. Yeah, and so it has been so cool just hanging out with this little hummingbird. So that's the little bit of nature of the week. For y'all to enjoy, and I will keep you posted moving forward with any developments with the hummingbird, because maybe there's gonna be baby hummingbirds or something at some point, which would just be the coolest thing in the world. I'm also very scared about this hummingbird nest. There's squirrels in the backyard and things, and I don't know. I'm just feeling very protective. So I hope I hope the hummingbird turns out okay. But it is some good energy, and that's why I'm bringing that hummingbird energy today. This seems right, Neffy. Like there's only this one hummingbird. There's no other hummingbirds. So the boys are just players. They're just like buzzing around. Hey, Xenia Kingdom, welcome. We also have some other people who joined earlier. This is a Chrysalis. This is Let's Write Books. We're doing writing sprints, working on our novels together. We've done 2 writing sprints, and we're going to do one more writing sprint to close things off. So if you're a writer, you're welcome to join us and write with us in this final sprint. I've been doing sort of some prompts about the sprints, but you're also welcome just to like do whatever you want if you're working on a novel. So yeah, we're going to jump into the final sprint now. We're going to do a 20-minute sprint to end. And we do have a prompt for this one. So we've been talking about stakes in our novels today. And so the third prompt, we kind of have options here. Option A is that you can use some of the stuff you thought of in your first 2 sprints and actually implement it into your story, into the prose of your novel. So some of the global things about stakes we were talking about in the first one, or some of maybe the sequence you were thinking about in the second sprint, you can use that. Option B for this sprint is just think about how can you escalate the stakes as your story goes forward. Can you add a ticking clock? So just very much, can you escalate your stakes? How can you escalate your stakes as your story progresses? That's kind of what I've been focusing on today as this story has unlocked in my brain. Or can you add a ticking clock? I think, Neffy, were you the one who said you realized you had a ticking clock in yours? Or someone else who said that? I can't remember. But yes, Neffy, that was you. You said you had a ticking clock. So maybe you do have a ticking clock. Maybe you don't. Maybe you want to think of one, or maybe you want to think of a way to move the clock forward. So I kind of had a ticking clock in mind, but one of the things I did today is realize like, oh, I figured out a way to speed the ticking clock up, where basically there was these characters and they had to accomplish something before this other thing happened. And it was just kind of there, but I'm like, oh wait, but if I can add this other obstacle, instead of like the discovery happening here, it can happen here. And suddenly it's more intense and they have to solve this problem faster, or else, the big consequences happen. So, all right, we're going to jump into this final sprint. I'm going to put a clock up on the screen. If you're new, if you just joined, this is going to be a 20-minute countdown. I'm going to play some music. I'm going to be muted, and that's when we're just going to write on our stuff. And you can do the suggested sprint, or you can just do whatever you want. If you have to leave during the sprint, that's cool. You can show up when you want, head out when you want. Let me know how your writing went today. And I hope to see you next week on Let's Write Books, or on Wednesday at Let's Write Scripts. And we have that special guest, the co-writer of Shrek, joining us Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific. You can RSVP for both those things in the links in the description below. And again, if you haven't liked, shared, turned notifications on, all those things, feel free to do it. So let's jump into this final sprint. And let's just like close out this good energy, this good writing energy that we've had today, with just 20 more minutes, just like locked in on our books. I'm feeling it. All right. I'm gonna play some music here. I'm going to put the timer up, and we're going to get into it, and then we'll say our final farewells at the end of the sprint. So happy writing. Let's do it. and that leads us to the Let's Write Books for Monday, April 28th. I hope everyone had a great writing session. I did. I really did. I mean, Elia was saying almost got the tingles there at the end. Yeah, like I was saying earlier, this is fantastic. I've been struggling with my novel recently, and the sprints today just really unlocked some stuff that I'm like excited again about it. And yeah, want to dive more into these things. Again, before we go, Let's Write Scripts. You can join us on Wednesday. We have a special guest, the co-writer of Shrek's going to be on the show. Our screenwriting focused weekly show. You can RSVP for that at the link in the description. And next Monday, we're doing Let's Write Books again, 10 a.m. Pacific. And it's going to be kind of like a power writing free write session. It's not going to be themed sprints. It's just going to kind of be an open writing time. And later in May, also, we're going to have a special event on memoir writing. We're going to have a memoirist, author, and writing instructor joining us to talk about memoirs later. So that should be pretty fun. Awesome. And everyone keep writing. May you get the goosebumps, get the tingles as you have those ideas when you just like, oh my God, that's it. You follow your excitement. Yeah, that's what it's all about. That's why I love writing. Hope to see some of you on Wednesday and next week on Monday again at Let's Write Books. Take care of yourselves, be kind to yourselves, and happy writing, everybody. All right, I'll see you later.